Hey, welcome to Tabletop Skirmish Games. I'm Lee, and in this video I'll show you how to prepare the Into the Dark terrain so it fits perfectly. Hopefully you've watched my unboxing video where we looked at all the good stuff included in the box. But before you paint it, this is a really important thing to concentrate on because these parts don't go together well at all. You may have seen some other videos showing just how hard it is to put this together. And if you go ahead and paint it all, you're going to have a lot of messy work to do afterwards. But you can see here just how much effort is required to prise these apart once you put them together. And when you're building all the different maps, this is going to be a real pain. So in this video, I'll show you some nice, quick, easy techniques so you can prepare your models and terrain ready for painting, and then once it's painted, it's going to fit together and come apart super easy. When I first saw those videos showing how bad it is when it goes together, I was like, oh no, it's going to ruin it. But with this technique, look at this. It's so easy now. It's really smooth, and this is exactly how it should be. There's a little bit of effort involved, about 2 hours, but I think if you balance that against how much time you're going to be playing this game, it's time well spent indeed. So for 2 hours to get all this ready, I think it's worth doing. So all I did was grab my little hobby file, and if you've got a larger file, that's going to work, but you don't want the teeth to be too big. You want nice fine teeth, and then you're just going to sand along the whole thing and try and get it nice and smooth. And so just keep going. Takes a little while, but yeah, about 2 hours to do the whole box set. That includes the filing and putting the masking tape on to prepare it for painting. So I just keep going on each side. I'm doing it in real time just so you get a good idea of how long this took me and how long it could take you. If you've got a Dremel tool, that could be the way to go. That would fly through this. It would take no time at all. You could literally just line it all up and blast through it. Again, just be careful though that you've got some fine sandpaper on the Dremel so you're not going too far. Because if you go too far, then it's going to be a bit wobbly when you put it together. You want that nice medium where it's going in and it's holding it just right, but it comes apart easily. So you don't want it too wobbly. Although it wouldn't matter that much, I don't think, once it's set up on the board. Because, yeah, I've noticed once it's set up before you do this, the board's quite rigid. It almost comes, the terrain, is quite rigid, almost comes off the board. And I think if you go the other way and go too far with the sanding, it's going to be a bit wobbly. But yeah, but here we go. Anyway, this is what I did at the top, look. I just went at a little angle, and that's where we're going to put the caps on the pillars, which I'll show you later. And so I'm just filing those down a tiny bit just so that they line up perfectly. So here we go. Let's do a little test. And yeah, that's a lot better. It's not quite going in at the bottom, so we need a bit more sanding. Let's try it on each side. There we go. So you can see that a lot, look at that, that's really tough. So, a lot less effort's needed once you've sanded it, and it's going to be a breeze now once we start building this for each of the different maps. So I want it a bit smoother than that, so I'm going to file along, focus on that bottom one a bit more. I found the bottom peg, if you like, was the one that was causing most of the problems, and so I put a bit more attention to that. But also that one at the top, the cap goes over, that needs to be just rounded off. There you go, that's better. So that's in and out, nice and easy now. That's going to line up really well. Where I've angled that, I just have a look, and then you can always run the file in it that way just to make it dead smooth if you wanted to. If you don't have the files, you could also use a scraping tool like this and just run it along every part. It doesn't hurt to do it here either. You're going to do this anyway once you trim the model from the sprue. But on these parts, you can really get stuck in with this little tool and you can scrape parts off so you can wear it down like that. I almost went with a combination of the two by the end of the box, where I did a little bit of scraping like this to get it even flatter and then went over it with the file, and I found that worked and sped the process up a bit. But if you're just filing, that's going to work. If you're just using this is going to work. So use what you have. You don't have to go out and get new tools. But yeah, combination of the two, I think that's a nice way to do it. This bit gets a bit fiddly, but you can make it work for sure doing it like that. But that's where I used the file, and so going between the two tools I think worked out really well. You'll also get these pipe sections in the box set, and they bridge across the two wall sections. So these go in quite well, not too bad, not as bad as the other ones, but you can still see that that lip sticks out, and also there's a bit tight at the bottom, so you don't want to break these. They could break quite easily, so I'd give these a file down, but I'm doing it in shorter stages and taking a little bit more care not to go too much, because I think you don't want these to be too wobbly and just like fall out. The cap's going to hold it in place, but still I think you want a bit of a snugger fit with these ones. So I'm just working through with the file. And it's a shame we have to do this. You expect when you're painting this much for things to go together nicely. And if you didn't mask it when you paint it, they're going to be even tougher to go together. So you have to do something, whether it's prepare it, mask it, or trim the paint afterwards. I just find this is the best way to do it because it's not so messy. Imagine doing this when it was covered in paint. It would just be terrible. And a lot more effort to get that paint off possibly too. And so yeah, I find doing it first is time well spent, and you're going to save a lot of time in the long run to get it to work. And it's going to be a lot more fun to play with now when it goes together easier like this. So there we go, that comes out a lot easier, less resistance, and there's going to be less chance of this breaking. Again, just check with your file to make sure that's squared off and that the cap's going to fit nicely. So here we go, here's one of those caps I keep talking about, and that just pops over the top, and look how easy that comes off. Finger and thumb, you can just pull it away, and it's also enough to keep everything, including that pipe, in place. So that's worked out really well. I was panicking a little bit because I thought this is going to be a nightmare if it's just stuck every time, and I'll show you an example of how bad it can be on this cross piece. So none of these have been worked on, and I have to push that down. Now try and get this off. That is wedged in, and imagine doing this on all the caps. Every time you want to take apart the terrain and change it, it's going to be a pain. And this isn't even one of the worst ones, so they can be on even worse than this. It's also fiddly to get it in place. Now, of course, it's solid, but once it's on the tabletop and flat, it doesn't have to be like this. So this definitely is an error in the manufacturing here. I mean, look at that. I'm having to use a little tool even now to get that out. So yeah, that's ridiculous. We shouldn't have to do that. But now with it sanded down and filed a bit, there we go. How easy is that? That just comes off now, a little wiggle, and it's going to come away, but there's enough give in there to hold it in place. Now that's ready to paint, I took some masking tape, and I used this piece here. I'll get the measurement for you. I just measured it, and it's 18mm wide. Now this was serendipity at play, because this fits perfectly on the whole piece. So I line it up, it goes over the edges, and then folds back down perfectly. So if you can get 18mm masking tape, that's going to cover all these pegs, and that's brilliant. So I was very lucky there that I had that, because it just fitted just right, and so that saved a lot of time getting that measurement. Now I was thinking about what to do inside the slots that those pegs go in, and whether I'm going to cover it up or not. I'm going to be airbrushing it, so I'm not too worried, but if you were using a rattle can, paint's going to get in there. So I thought, what about putting something like this in, like a coffee stirrer, trimming down all the sticks, and then just pushing them in, and then that's going to cover up the holes. I don't know if I'm going too far here with this. I don't know if we'll need to do it. You could even do the same in the little slots here. Just trim it, cut it to size first, then push it in. I think that's going to work. But this would take a long time. So if you've got an airbrush, you really don't need to worry, because you can just dial down the amount that you're spraying and just go around the edges without spraying hardly any paint in there at all. And so yeah, that's one way. But then another idea I had was getting some sprue, snipping off pieces that fit, and then just sliding them in, and then you could paint it with the rattle can, then literally tip them out, and then all those gaps are going to be plugged up and you're not going to get any paint in there. So if I was going to use a rattle can, I think I would use sprue pieces like that. Here's everything from the box set laid out, and you don't have to sand down every bit. It's just these 4 panels here, so they've got to be done. You've got the 4 double walls, and they've got a pillar that's fixed in place there, so you'd have to sand the edges of those. And then you've also got things like the pipes and everything, but you don't have to worry about these other large sections up the top here. You don't have to do anything to those, whereas filing and everything's concerned. None of that. Don't have to worry about the caps. And so yeah, it's just those top pieces that you have to look at, like these, the 2 pipes. You've got the end bits as well that go in, broken pipes, things like that. You've got the like these things, little pipes sticking up, little bits of scenery there, and little canisters. So just do the ends of those as well. But just like we did with the pipe, don't go too far down, because they're just end pieces, so you don't have to worry so much about that. Now I've covered everything in masking tape, and so I've gone down the bits down the edge that I've sanded, as you can see on all those pieces. And what I also did was covered the top parts, so they're the squares that the pegs are going to go over. Sorry, not pegs, the caps are going to go on top. So I just covered that in some masking tape too. And then when I paint this, there's not going to be any paint there. And again, just be careful with those gaps. I've left them open because I'm using the airbrush. To make it easy when I airbrush these, I've just used some blue tack to hold them down on the card, blue tack on all the caps as well so they're not going to move, and then also on pieces like the barricades and scattered terrain as well. And here's everything painted up. I've gone black and I'm going to do some brown over this and all different things that you'll see in later videos where I go into lots of detail for all aspects of this box set. And I also use blue tack on my models too, put them onto some corks, and that's going to make it really easy to get them sprayed up and then painted. I hope you found this video helpful and gave you some good ideas about how to prepare your terrain. Also check out my how to build the Kroot Farstalkers and the Navy Breachers, where I go into all the details about the operative options you get. I've also done videos on how to paint all the components of the set, including measuring gauges, barricades as well. And once you've done all that and you're ready to play, I've done a how to play series. This is a great box set, and once you've fixed those issues with the filing and everything, it's brilliant fun, and I can highly recommend it. And if you haven't ordered yours yet but would like to, please consider checking out Firestorm Games. Firestorm Games are sponsoring my channel. They're an awesome website that can save you up to 20% on all your hobby products, and they've also sent me a code to share with you, which is really cool of them, to save you an additional 5% on those up to 20% savings. So the link and the code's in the description below. Copy and paste, head over through that link and save yourself some money. Thanks so much for watching the video. I'd love to hear your feedback and also any tips you might have. Have you done this differently? Is there anything you'd like to share with everyone? Or do you have any questions? Either way, let me know in the comments section below. It'll be great to hear from you. But for now, thank you so much for watching. Please like the video if you liked it. Subscribe for more videos like this one. And also, don't forget to hit that notification bell so you can join me here next time on Tabletop Skirmish Games. I'd like to say a huge thank you to my Patreon supporters who make these daily videos possible, and if you're interested in joining the community, it'd be awesome to see you there, and I'll put a link for that in the description down below.